So for me, it's Calvin Ridley. I Yeah, I've always been a Calvin Ridley fan. It's crazy the fall off. I know, obviously, with the suspension, and then prior to that, he had the mental health stuff where he kind of played a couple of games and then left. Like, this was a guy that the community was super high on. Like, dynasty wise, he was like a top 10 dynasty value at wide receiver at the time. But I'm buying in on Ridley. There's some coach speak, right, where it seems like they're looking to use him more in a Jamar Chase role, where they're going to move him around, which unfortunately with the Jacksonville Jaguars last year, that was the biggest issue that I had with them, is that they just weren't creative enough. It was a very stagnant offense. Now, to their credit, Ridley did get the opportunities, and he didn't finish on some of those opportunities. He was the wide receiver 17 last year. So I don't really know why people are so down or people don't like Ridley. It seems to get a lot of hate for a guy who didn't play in a year and a half and still finished as the wide receiver 17. If anything, I just think people's expectations were too high. But for me, he more than met his expectations for a guy that didn't play for a year and a half and went to a completely different team, learned a whole new system. So he's being drafted as wide receiver 32. Came off a year where he was wide receiver 17. Now he is learning a new system, but this is a guy who still has elite route running ability. He was still one of the better route runners last year. Per player profiler, he won the 16th most routes in the NFL last year. He received 136 targets and eclipsed 1,000 yards his first year back after being gone for a year and a half. This guy is talented. He was able to get into the end zone 8 times last year. So and that's with the drops that he had, where everyone's seen the compilation video of Lawrence throwing to Ridley, where he just dropped a bunch of passes in the end zone, red zone. So I think he comes down with more of those, and I think this is just a better offense, and I think they're going to feature him more with better quality of targets, and I'm excited for him. And I also think DeAndre Hopkins is going to open up easier matchups for him. I think when Christian Kirk went down, they tried to put him in that Christian Kirk role, and it just wasn't a fit for him, to be completely honest with you. But my bold take is I do think Ridley cracks into the top 20, which he's being drafted as wide receiver 32. So that's definitely good value there. But I also think this is a top 15 offense, possibly getting close to the top 10. That's the kind of upside that I see in this offense with Brian Callahan, and I'm very excited to see how they look this year.
Yeah, that's some bold takes, but I'm willing to ride those bold takes with Tennessee and this offense. Mm-hmm. Now, I do want to interject here. You brought up how people had expectations for Calvin Ridley. I was one of those people. I when he went to Jacksonville, I was running around with a fantasy football erection. And just totally ignored all of the time missed. And
I
overdrafted Calvin Ridley, thinking, "Oh, this guy's a top 12 receiver. I'm going to win leagues with this guy." But yeah, you're right. His finish wasn't that bad if you didn't overdraft him like I did and like other people did. And I think that's why people are so soured on Calvin Ridley. Sure. He had 5 top 12 finishes, 9 finishes as the wide receiver 37 or worse. So very frustrating player. But the positive is I do like the system better. I like what Callahan's going to bring here. Brian Callahan, this is a team people, you kind of have to put blinders on to what we're used to out of Tennessee. No more Vrabel, no more Derrick Henry. This is a team that is telling us by bringing in a pass catching back like Pollard. You're paying Calvin Ridley a lucrative contract, addressing the offensive line, the top 10 of NFL drafts in back-to-back years. We want to throw the football. We want to distance ourselves from that era. And I have the stat in front of me. Callahan, they throw the football. I just want to say this right. So 4 of 5 of Brian Callahan's seasons in Cincinnati, his offense ranked top 12 in pass rate and finished in the top 6 2 times in that category. They have the personnel to throw the hell out of the football. And mind you, Hopkins, He's getting older. He's already dealing with an injury. Who knows if Hopkins misses time this season? And I think the biggest benefactor will be Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, like you said, Ant, like second, third round, he was moving up to last year. So now he's going in the 5th round. And that's, it's a discount a little bit. And the Hopkins injury, and he could certainly be fed by Levis. We'll see how that looks. I haven't been clicking on Ridley that much. I think he's kind of like on the downward spiral of his career, but maybe they just really toss the shit out of the ball. And, if Hopkins is going to miss a lot of time, he's just going to be forced target.